Please don't fall off. I've recently had the opportunity of watching I Saw the TV Glow right here in my bedroom on my laptop alone in the dark while my parents are sleeping. It was before a school day too, so I don't even... This is the latest feature film by director Jane Schoenbrun that has been discussed heavily on social media, and I thought I would give it a watch because I wanted to see what the fuss was about. But I must say, after watching it, I've never experienced something like this before. Anyway, enough the enticement. Let's just dive deep into this fever dream of a film. The film tells the story of two high school teens, Owen and Maddie, who become inseparable over their obsession with an obscure TV show called The Pink Opaque, surrounding a pair of supernatural teens fighting monsters under an astrological overlord known as Mr. Melancholy. Basically, it's just another fantasy fictional fighting friends that you find on any other young adult network. But when the show gets mysteriously cancelled, the reality begins to fracture. Suddenly, the bizarre events that they've witnessed on screen start bleeding into their own adult lives, spiraling our protagonist into a deluge of derealization. Specifically focusing mainly on Owen's journey, this coming-of-age story blends psychological horror with themes of grief, loneliness, and identity, creating an experience that's as thought-provoking as it is unsettling. Now, there were some impactful, juicy performances within this film. Justice Smith playing Owen and Bridget Lundy Payne as Maddie are just phenomenal. They bring so much depth to their characters, and they perfectly portray the sort of vulnerability and volatility that comes with being a teenager. Their dynamic feels authentic, especially as their friendship goes from sharing a comforting escape from reality into a shared spiral into a chaotic one. Owen specifically goes through a cacophony of emotions as he tries to figure out his true nature of existence, which I think Smith does a very good job at portraying through his fourth wall breaks and meltdowns throughout the whole film, with Maddie complementing this journey by being a sympathetic side character. Well, not really side character because she has her own sort of plot that intermingles with Owen's, but like complementing his journey by sympathizing with his struggles in order to decipher the show beyond the superficial enjoyment that they have over it, while also at the same time conflicting with his point of view later on in the story about how much the show really truly means to them and what the show is actually about. This duo is sort of a metaphorical representation of what it means to be a unique individual in a world that tends to target you for being different.
I feel like a lot of my loneliness is self-inflicted. I've always felt so chronically misunderstood by the world and everyone around me that I don't give people the opportunity to understand me. I don't even try to bridge the gap between me and them. But surprisingly enough, on this film, when it comes to acting, a lot of that loneliness manifests as my own obsession with the quality of my work, and that I'm alone in my performance and crafting my performance. And when they say action, it's just me and nobody else. And a lot of this experience allowed me to let go of that and just trust whatever came out of me. And then I would shape it together with the director and with the crew and with Bridget. And it wasn't just just because the camera is on me doesn't mean I'm alone. I have so many people around me to help craft this thing,
And let's not forget about the creepy creatures, the monsters, the villains of the show And in a way of this whole movie, they're just as much as characters within the world of the Pinko Pig as characters within Owen and Maddie's reality, because they sort of symbolize as these unseen forces that help shape our main characters' perceptions of themselves. And within our real world, these villains sort of represent the insecurities that we have. One last note about the casting. I'd really recommend for you to keep an eye on some of the surprising cameos that come within this movie from famous celebrities and musicians, because honestly, like, even though it can be funny at times after you recognize who these people are, they do really add an unexpected layer of fun while enhancing this film's surreal vibe. The direction that this film went through, honestly, like, it's very distinct style. This is Jane Schoenbrun's world, and we're all just living in it. Their direction is a masterclass in creating tension and a eerie atmosphere. Every frame feels deliberate, drawing you deeper into this glitchy, distorted reality. But this isn't the first time that they've created narratives surrounding this idea of isolation in a world full of noise and numbing negativity.
I don't know what to expect. I want to go to the World's Fair. I want to go to the World's Fair. I want to go to the World's Fair.
This is for serious players only. I hope that you're ready to get scared together.
We're All Going to the World's Fair was Jane's first feature foray into the film spotlight. Centered around the chaos behind famous online creepypastas, this film focuses on the fictional contest of going to the World's Fair. Although not Jane's first exploration of authentically representing the internet through film, let alone her first film, Jane sought to tell the story about the effects of online storytelling on the young mind. I watched this before I saw the TV Glow to get a better sense of Jane's style. It was a dreadful watch, but not due to poor quality, as it's more so the poor state in which the two main characters are in. Casey, the young protagonist, stumbling into a new online fandom with her own unique take as to the story behind it. And then she suddenly gets contacted and coerced by a fandom purist, JLB, into following his directions regarding how she should carry out the challenges. This delicate dive into what it means to be part of a community while being incredibly alone gets pulled into a tighter spider web when these authority figures shove their gatekeeping and norms down our throats, questioning what it means to be an individual and ultimately showing how these communities can be toxic to us if we're not careful in accepting each other's company. Okay, you know what? I'll take this off. Other than this main film, Jane has experience in working a bunch of other indie projects, and within interviews, they talked about getting a variety of sources of inspiration that have helped culminate in the production of I Saw the TV Glow.
I'd seen so many movies, show like the YouTube kid, like, hey guys, welcome to my channel. And just immediately that this is somebody who created this that has not spent 15 minutes being in love with the internet in their life. And I think the important lesson I learned from that film was never talk down to it, right? If these are movies about love, if these are movies about people who are falling deeply in love with something on a screen, the thing on the screen can't be something that I'm looking down on. It has to carry that magic, and this is kind of easy for me because I've been that kid. As far as this movie goes, yeah, I did a lot of thinking about the ambiance of those TV shows that meant so much to me as a kid, and what felt developing about them, what kind of iconography, what kind of humor, what kind of even just speaking went into creating something that I could really like cling to. And yeah, just trying to lovingly bring it to life. Like the days on set when we were doing pink opaque moments, and the days on set when we were doing especially the pink opaque moments that felt like implicit nods to Buffy or Are You Afraid of the Dark. I was just like, I can't believe I'm getting to make this, because it's like I've just like it's very easy for me to feel like a kid doing that.
The cinematography is surreal and aesthetically cohesive, consistent throughout. The vivid colors, grainy textures, the retro effects that, again, there are digital portions of it, but mostly through practical effects. Like, it was shot on film for most, for like some of the more nostalgic parts. All these elements help create a sense of unease that lingers long after the credits roll. It required a ton of work, especially the sheer amount of VFX that went into some of the more integral scenes. And yet, it's deeply effective, sort of like watching an old TV transmission that doesn't want to let you go. Overall, this film has a clear look that blurs the line between fact and fantasy, gripping any viewer with a taste of young adult adventure and nostalgic atmosphere. A common talking point about this film that gets talked about a lot is its score. This film has an all-star lineup of haunting tracks and distorted soundscapes. It's nostalgic yet eerie, perfectly capturing the film's tone. Like, honestly, just for the music alone, this film is worth watching because of how much it complements what's happening on screen, with features from many indie artists such as Phoebe Bridgers, J-Som, and Saturn, among many others. The blending of different genres ranging from swaying jazz to scolding punk takes the audience into an emotional roller coaster that the characters on screen endure.
I saw the TV glow, I am in the 8th grade.
At its core, I Saw the TV Glow is about nostalgia and how it's used as a metaphor for our childlike want and desire to break free from our current state of unreasonable expectations that we put on ourselves, but also others. It also dives into themes of gender identity, giving a voice to experiences that aren't often explored within mainstream films. It's subtle, but is surely impactful.
I wrote it while I was beginning to transition my gender, and I think the film very much comes from trying to articulate not only that feeling of like early transition as like an overwhelming emotional experience, but also like everything that led up to it, like half of a life spent sort of knowing that something is wrong subliminally and looking for the language to explain why. But it's exploring these queer themes in genre terms like my films tend to do.
Yeah, shout out to wasting your money to get told that you're wrong in some ephemeral way that you'll never quite understand.
Overall, it's a good film. It may not be perfect by any means, maybe even cryptic at times to those who might not relate to the undertones of transgenderism or sexuality, but it's unforgettable in its portrayal of the insanity that a young mind can go through as they develop through these experiences and as they grow among this, what feels like a noisy television show. You know, this movie got me thinking about my own childhood in a way. There are so many shows that I still reminisce about that really express certain parts of my identity that I tend not to show to others because of how they might perceive me or how they could manipulate me into their expectations. Like, take Odd Squad, for example. It did more than teach me how to do math and nonsensical scenarios. It taught me the power of storytelling, to teach the world how to become a more inquisitive thinker. But what if it shaped reality too? I think it's fascinating to think about how media intertwines with our lives, for better or for worse. Wait, I just thought of something. I've always thought that something as complicated as life and the human experience wasn't able to be captured through rigor and regularity, like through mediums such as math and the media. But I've also discovered that these tools have uncovered some of humanity's most crucial discoveries. Measurements, DNA, natural processes, these systems produce results that are captured by our most skillful minds and on some of the most important forms of media imaginable. But I guess it can be easy to get lost in the sauce when trying to predict humanity with such rigid structures. It's more insightful to just experience it within the moment. In the end, I Saw the TV Glow feels like taking a hike into a glitchy world. Beautiful, unsettling, and unforgettable. I'll see y'all on the other side.
I think my internal barometer is never like make sure I try to stay away from thinking about like representation or good representation or bad representation. You know, I think that's too much pressure to have on your shoulders when you're trying to make honest art. Thinking about, you know, like as a queer and trans filmmaker, obviously like there aren't a lot of folks making movies from that background and from that perspective. And so I do feel like a responsibility to do it well. But in my experience, the best way to make good art from, you know, like an honest place is just to trust what feels drawn from something personal.